Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, world. The whole world. I'm feeling very worldly today. How are
Right?
you?
The whole world is listening. I
I
told you we
know.
were ranked in Sweden at one time, which is pretty crazy to me because I don't even know that I actually know. I know a lot of people around the world, but I don't even know if I know anybody in Sweden. So
You know,
that was a pretty cool experience.
inspiration comes from everywhere. So if we're making someone's life in Sweden, one person's life in Sweden a little bit funnier, so then good. That's cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So how have you
Excellent.
been?
I am good. I had my birthday weekend just passed, which was really cool. Went to this really beautiful restaurant. Actually, two, I think I ate my way through the day. We went out to breakfast and had a gorgeous breakfast, and then went to dinner and had an amazing dinner. And I think I just sat and read all day Sunday. I had Tim build me a fire, and I sat right next to the fire. And then after
That's like such luxury to like sit with a fire and read. Like,
the ultimate dream, the ultimate dream. But what's funny is like once this half of my body got hot, then I had to like turn my chair around the other way so the other half of my body. I'm still learning how heat works. I don't know, it's a whole thing. Yeah, and then this week is my big grand opening on Thursday, so I'm
that is
super
super
excited about that.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's March. I really thought this would be like warm now, and it is not. So, winter is a whole thing. It's a whole. I'm gonna have to really write it like a blog about it because this is a
I
big
tried to
deal.
warn you. I tried to warn you.
I mean, it's still the coolest, best thing we've ever done. Like we're still super happy. But it's funny how I almost forgot what the trees look like with leaves on them because I'm so used to seeing them bare now. So yeah, I'm really, really, really looking forward to spring and summer and really just watching everything come back to life again.
Didn't you have some flowers popping up already?
Daffodils. That I personally don't have any. My neighbor has them and we have them at the studio. But yeah, they're starting to pop up. Brave little guys. They're like, winter's almost, you have one hot day and they're like, oh, we're ready, we're coming out. So that's the interesting thing with the weather here is that in the morning it'll be like 25 and then by noon it'll be 60. Like, and 60 here feels like 110. Like it's crazy.
Yep.
So yeah,
You're acclimating. You're acclimating.
I will tell you what. I've got enough coats to last me a lifetime, that's for sure.
I always laugh. Like, I have this one winter coat that lives up at my dad's house, and that has been the coat that I've left up there for as long. And I've lived in Florida now 30 years, so that coat is 30 years old. And, you know, like styles of winter coats really don't change that much. It's a black poofy hooded, with fur around the hood. Like, and so sometimes I'm like, the coat's 30 years old, I should get a new one. But since it gets worn just like, a few days every year, it's still
Yeah.
fine. So
Plus, honestly, now that you've passed the 20-year mark, you're in the vintage zone. So if you did get rid of it, somebody at like the Goodwill would buy it for a lot of money and you'd actually be losing. So at this point, it's vintage, it's original, keep the coat. There's that one saying, keep the old coat, buy the new book. Like, just, yeah, you're fine. It's fine.
well, and speaking of vintage, like I still have up there as well. I don't wear it as often, but I have one of my grandfather's old hunting jackets. They're like these really thick wool, black and red checked. Like, they're
Wow.
not hunting anymore because you have to wear the orange stuff now when you
Oh,
hunt.
okay. Okay.
Um, and then I also have because my dad was in the Navy, I have his pea coat, which has to be like the warmest thing on the planet. So
Wow.
they are both still in the closet up there, and occasionally I put those on too. So I
Well,
do
I
have
know where
super
I'll be
vintage.
raiding. Hmm. I
What
will.
did you say?
I said I know where I'll be raiding to raid to find warmth for sure. Oh my gosh, amazing. Um, I do see like there's so much that I read about in books as I was growing up, but never experienced in real life. And I've always said, like, I've seen snow and I've seen all of the seasons. I've never experienced the long-term transitions between the seasons. That's the part that I'm learning. So I understand now, like, why people like have their winter clothes tucked away and then you bring it out and air it out and then use it. And then when you're done, you're done. So you got to take that and put it back. And little things like that are kind of like interesting. Um, yeah, very cool. I mean, honestly, that's kind of like a little ritual, right? Like
Yeah,
today's topic.
absolutely. And it is a transitional ritual, which brings us to our topic of the day is how do you mark rituals to mark transitions in your life? And, I'm like looking at like, you just have this huge transition, and so many like micro transitions within the macro transition. And I'm curious to know, like, what kind of rituals did you tap into for that?
Well, it's kind of, this is February, and February last year is when we put an offer on this house. So it's been a year since we started making hard, definite plans to change our entire lives. And since then, it's kind of been like being on a freight train. So like you realize you're going 100 miles an hour, but sometimes you could just relax for a minute. But then if you look out the window, it's like, So time really is relative. It really is a very interesting experience. But there's the typical things that you think of, like throwing things away that don't serve you any longer, the whole Marie Kondo theme of life. And even realizing how much stuff I brought up here that I probably didn't need anyway, how much I should have kept, how much is still missing. It's really weird, but somewhere there's a box of my stuff somewhere that I know, because I'm like, didn't I used to have? And then I have no idea where it is. So for sure there's a box in the garage somewhere that we haven't opened. um, but when I think of when we say rituals, my gut feel is to go to something very like holy and spiritual and elaborate. But the truth is that rituals is anything really done with routine, right? To mark something important. So some of our
I think
rituals,
routine and with intention.
yeah, yeah, totally. I was thinking, well, first of all, I was thinking about weather. I was thinking, my God, I've never understood why people celebrated spring until this very moment. Like, absolutely. When the weather turns, when it's spring, you're going to catch me outside. I'm going to do, there's actually a really cool folk school in the area, and they have that maypole event where, the pole with the ribbons and people. I'm there. I'm going to be there dancing, like ready to go.
I'm
So
sure we'll see it on Facebook.
oh my gosh, that's going to be really cool. But like another really sweet ritual that kind of kept my family grounded for many, many years as a mom is specific times of day with my children. So as most people know, having children could be an absolute shit show, but there are these little tiny moments that if you keep them in ritual, it makes it all like worthwhile, and it's how you wake them up in the morning, the first thing you say when they get in the car after school, and bedtime. What is your bedtime routine? So having those three things be ritualistic in the sense that we do the same type of thing, it's very comforting both to me and to them. And it reminds us, like, no matter how crazy the day is, we always start and end in this beautiful, peaceful way. Now they're teenagers, they're on the bottom floor, I'm on the top floor. It's a little bit different. I don't wake them up, I don't put them to bed. I do miss that. But the after school part, that's really important. That drive to school and from school, that car time, like parents, that is gold right there. So they know that on the way to school, I talk to them, get them amped up for their day, and on the way home, they download and tell me everything on the way home. So those are two really cool rituals for us, for sure.
Love that.
How do you
Um,
see it?
well, what I was going to say, like, you also, the whole ribbon cutting that you're having this week at your studio, that is a transitional ritual that many businesses practice. And, um, I I'm curious, like, I don't even know, like, what is the history behind the whole ribbon cutting ceremony? Like, who started that? Where did that come from? That would be interesting to research a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
And
for
I'll tell
myself,
you,
go ahead.
I'll tell you what's really neat about ribbon cutting is that just saying ribbon cutting, it feels so welcoming. Like the chamber reached out to me. They said, "Hey, we know you're new here. We want to do this for you." And so it's this beautiful gift that they're giving me. I mean, it's literally a ribbon and I hope that they come with a big giant pair of scissors. I've always wondered what to use one of those. But the point is, like, just saying it is it's like I don't know, it's like somebody offering you a freshly baked bread, you know, like it's just something so nice and so sweet. And you know, there's going to be like the mayor and the newspaper and things like that. And you know, how cool that this little town is welcoming me and my business. And I mean, I think that's a modern equivalent of bringing your new neighbor some cookies, you know.
Um, yeah, that's, I'm like, and I have new neighbors and I never brought them cookies. I probably should have, um, but doing this like reminds me of all the traditions. You know, it's a little over a year ago that I moved into my new office. And so one of the rituals that I've created, you know, because I've moved office several times, like before I even move in, painting becomes a ritual for me.
Mhm.
And as long as the space is not too big, like the last office that I had as a therapist with staff, we had a big place, but actually like my staff came in and like we all painted it together, which was
Wow.
a really cool experience. But these last two offices that I've had on my own, like I come in and like of course I choose purple paint,
Purple.
but you know, I have this ritual of painting like love and healing and abundance on the walls. So like, and hearts and symbols. And so that's all like on the first layer of paint. And then, you know, obviously it gets painted over so you don't see them, but like the intention that went in there to doing that. And then this office moving in, I was really lucky that I got to go in and paint before the new floor was put down. So it was like the raw concrete floor. And I wrote a blessing on you know, with my shirt. So like somewhere down the road, someone may come in and peel back this floor. And I had this experience in my house that I live in. In the bedroom, we peeled away the floor and there was a prayer written on the floor. And so that's where I got that idea from. And you know, at first when we like peeled it back and there's like words, we're like, oh no, what is this? But it was actually a beautiful prayer, really nice. And so yeah, in my office, I wrote this, you know, this beautiful blessing prayer, you know, asking for healing and abundance and love and peace to
Beautiful.
everybody that passes in there. And then of course there's the smudging, the cleansing of the energy. And you know, I do that practice almost every day unless I'm running behind and I don't have time to do it. But that whole cleansing the energy, um yesterday, and I wrote about it in my newsletter today, but I had a really big decision to make, and I'm not going to talk about it on here because some of the people involved don't know about it yet. And so, um, but you know, I decided to sit and get the decision at the office where I could be completely alone and not disturbed by anybody or any creature. And so, yeah, I went in.
Use that.
I cleansed the whole space. I lit a candle. I brewed myself some cacao. I got my favorite crystals. I pulled out essential oils for clarity and vision. Um, oh, I brought in my owl for intuition and wisdom. And I had my oracle cards. And, you know, I just did this whole little ritual. I pulled my cards. I sat, I meditated. And when I was done, I was like, I already had the answer, but just going through that ritual, like everything that showed up absolutely supported the decision that I was making. So I feel really calm and relaxed about it. Whereas like this weekend, as I was like in that, I was just like in chaos. I was like dreaming about it. I wasn't sleeping well. And just going last night, I slept like a baby. And you know, I started sharing. I shared yesterday with one of the people that's really important for me to share this with. Later today, I'm going to share it with another person that it's really important for me to share it with, and then we'll make it public. But so it felt good to have like that ritual in place for me to be able to walk through something that was it was a little bit stressful for me. And so I think rituals, they can help just bring order to the chaos.
Yeah, I think, and thank you for sharing, because that's a beautiful experience the way you put it together. You know, I think I always talk about our brain being so separate from us. And sometimes, and I always say this, like your brain, bless its heart, it's always trying to protect you, you know? And I think we know our answers and we know what we want in our gut. And then if you just so much as hesitate 5 seconds, your brain pops in and goes, wait, but what about all these other things? Right. And then you're like, overthinking, second guessing, all of these things. You know, they say if you really want to know what your gut tells you and you have to make a decision, take a coin and flip it. And before it lands, you will know your answer, because while it's in the air, you will have a hope of something. That's the answer. Don't even worry about what it lands on. What you feel, that's the answer. That's what you should do, you know, because you already know, right? So all of these little rituals is just nice confirmation that what you originally thought was the right thing, you know? I mean, can you hear my dryer going off? Like, should I go through? Okay, well, thank God, because it is going off. But honestly, like going back to my very first relationship, when I was 15 years old, I knew when I was 15, I was like, is this a good idea? And then like I had that gut feeling, and then my brain talked me out of it. And then 15 years later, we got divorced. like, like literally 15 years. Like I probably could have done without that had I just followed my gut the first time. Not to say I regret it, not to say that it was horrible. It wasn't. It was lovely and exactly what I needed in that point in my life. But I think back onto the times where I had that intuition, and had I just given myself permission to confirm it with little rituals and things like this, you know, life would have been very different, you know, better or worse, I don't know, but just different, you know. So very interesting. um I do think that having our rituals keep us grounded, you know. One of the I read the phrase this morning, the fast-paced world we live in, and I'm scoffing, and I say scoff, look at me scoff, because um I'm not doing that here, you know. Am I busy? Do I have things to do? Absolutely. But physically living out here as opposed to in the big city, I've removed that fast-paced definition from my life, you know? And part of that is having the space to do little rituals, to have my cacao in the morning and not have to chug it in the car on the way to the something, that yelling at the guy at the stoplight and you know, right? So highly recommend create, you know, notice that the little things you do every day can also be done ritualistically, right? I really enjoy taking a shower in a very particular way. So now you all get to know how I take a shower. So my bathroom has like 3 lights, like switches you can turn on. I only turn on one. Every shower that I take is basically in the dark, because this is my downtime. This is my, you know, calm down, day is done. After this, I go right to bed. Like that's my routine. And if ever the big light is on, I'm like, the sun, I can't take a shower in that glaring light. What am I on, a Hollywood stage? I don't like that. So personally, and as soon as I turn the lights off, it signals to me that this is my time. It is not time for me to work out what I'm doing with my marketing or what my kids classes are taking next year. Like this is my time to just literally let the water wash over me, remove everything that doesn't serve me. I mean, it's a whole thing, right? Add to it the music, the candles, the incense, and it's a party. So, and I, God bless me, I take a shower every single day. So I get I get a luxurious ritual every single day just by taking the same shower that I take every day anyway. So why not take something that you do already and just make it really special?
Hmm. Um, and since you are bringing up water, I will just add, um, so we do have coming up pretty soon our webinar about the four elements that's going to lead up to our retreat about the four elements. But, um, obviously water is one of the four elements. And just, I'm hoping after this webinar and definitely after the retreat that people will look at water in a whole different way. And, um, the more I've been tuning into water, it's like water wisdom is showing up everywhere in my world. And, we had Sweat Lodge this past Saturday night. And, Chief reminds us almost every time we sweat that there are places in the world that people do not have access to clean water, and like,
This is in the US that people don't have access to clean water.
like the fact that you get to take a shower every single day, like that is such a huge luxury. And so definitely it should be done with honor, respect, sacredness. So I love your whole story about like you have a very specific way and like, honor that water that's so readily available to you to cleanse you and um, refresh and recharge and all of that. So,
Absolutely. Listen, I every so often when my kids get a little too how shall I say comfortable with modern conveniences and they're like, "Oh, I have to do my laundry." And then I have to remind them, but back in the day, you would have to put your laundry on your back. Not that I did this, thank God, but go down to the river, beat it against a rock, come back, takes 9 years to iron it because you had to like put your iron in the fire and heat it up and that's literally our grandparents' generation. It wasn't that long ago. And you only had one nice business shirt, you only had one nice suit, you only had one nice dress. Like y'all don't have problems, it's okay. So
it is a
yeah,
blessing to have the need to do laundry and to stick it in a machine that does it for you. So, my funny little story, when I was a kid, my brother and I, we would go stay with my grandparents for 2 weeks every summer to give my parents their little honeymoon vacation every year. And my grandma um, still had a wringer washer. So it was
oh
electric, but the clothes like had to be put through the wringer. And
yeah,
then once the washing was complete, we went and hung them on the line, which I've told many people I do have laundry lines in my backyard. And most of the time, I mean, sometimes weather doesn't permit, it's raining, so it has to go in the dryer. And but I still love hanging laundry out. Like the the fresh air smell is just priceless. But back to my grandma's house when I was a kid. So, when I got old enough to be able to help, and I thought it was cool as a kid to pick the laundry out and stick it through the wringer. And so one year I'm sticking a sock through the wringer. And again, it's an electric wringer, and my thumb went through with the sock. Yep.
oh my God,
And
Julia.
so I have a little scar right here on large intestine 4, which I'm like, I think that's part of my imbalance in life is that I have this massive scar on a very powerful acupuncture point. Um,
Mm.
that was the summer my grandparents were like, oh my God, we're never going to get the grandkids again because I had this happen to my thumb. And then we would always go up north. My my grandpa and they used to own a resort up in northern Wisconsin, like all these little cabins on this lake. And sometimes we would go stay up there, and we went up there and there were these ground, I don't remember if they were bees or wasps, and my brother was like standing over them and he got I don't know how many bites, like he had to be taken to the hospital because of it.
Yeah.
It was like summer from hell for my grandparents, but they're stories that live on and we get to tell. And like, I do have such fond memories of being able to spend those 2 weeks with my grandparents every summer. So
That does
anyway.
sound nice, although harrowing, but nice. But I grew up with the same thing of hanging our clothes on the washer. Yeah, it's kind of just interesting, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of like this is what I love about ritual is that because you keep repeating it, you start building memories from it. And so next time you do the thing, whatever the thing is, all you get to relive all of your past experiences, you know. I forget who it was, talking to someone recently who was saying, I remember, oh, I know who it was. Okay. So it was a Cuban woman, friend of mine, and she was talking about coming up for a visit. And as soon as she said she was coming up for a visit, I was like, oh, we brought the cajachina with us. Like, we'll break it out. We'll break it out. Well, I'll find a pig. I don't know where I'm going to find one, but I'll find one, you know, like they're probably a lot closer than I think. But those are the rituals, right? Like, you know, there is a law that says once you have 15 Cubans in one place, you must roast a pig. It's just, this is just what we do. So I'm excited, you know, I mean, it matters. I don't eat roast pork any other time except for one with family, you know? So that's a ritual.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'd love to hear from our audience. Tell me some cool rituals, especially I love a micro ritual, like little things that are easy to remember. I love that. And I love earthy rituals. I love those too. So if you guys have anything like that that you can share, please put it in the comments. We really do read them. I really do want to like enrich my life knowing new things. So please share that. Um
And you talk about it just made another thought pop into my head that I want to share is like a lot of times in many traditions there's very like specific rituals that are, this is how we do this is how it's done, da 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 da. And I think sometimes people think like a ritual has to be something that somebody in some position of authority or power created this ritual for you to follow. And I just want to make sure everybody out there knows like you can create any ritual you want, anyhow you want, any way you want, just so that it has meaning and intention for you. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. You know, um sometimes I get the inspiration and I write different meditations or prayers or whatever. And so for example, with cacao, like if you guys ever come to any of my ceremonies, I have a specific cacao prayer that I wrote, you know. It's not, you know, like yes, I do have one of the Mayan prayers that I like to share, but just because like I am the ancestor for 5,000 years from now, right? Like my little prayer, who knows, maybe somebody will pick it up and use it again after I die, but I'm allowed to create what works for me as much as what already exists, you know. And I also feel very invited to take what works and leave what doesn't. You know, that's another thing for me. Like, if there's a particular ritual of a particular culture and you happen to not be part of that culture, my personal opinion, unless you're, you know, stealing state secrets, if you are invited and you are shown this, then you are allowed, right? Permission is just a belief. It's a limiting belief. You know, the sun and the moon and the earth are just as much mine as yours. So to me, do what feels good to you. You're called to it for a reason. Um, you know, ask for guidance, ask for help, but you know me, man, do whatever the fuck you want to do.
As long
Sorry.
as it's not hurting anybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, you know, like, um, you know, I'm all about respecting other cultures. I'm not trying to steal or appropriate or, you know, certainly not make fun of. I think I've told you, I saw one time a pair of shoes that had a Buddha on shoes. And I was like, I find that disrespectful. Like, you're not putting the Buddha on your shoes for any religious purposes. You're using it to sell it at a store. Like, that's not what I mean when I say take what works and leave what doesn't. Right? What I mean is, if you weren't raised Buddhist, it's okay to go study Buddhism, and, you know, vice versa, right? So Anyway, that's my TED talk for today before I get too far down the road. You want to talk about our retreat real quick because we have yet another attendee sign up. We are filling up. I'm so excited. Do we have
Yes.
waterfall rooms available still or no? I don't think so. I can't remember.
For sure there's at least one bed that has a waterfall room, and the fancy room has not sold yet. Like that room has king bed, its own ensuite bathroom, and a view of the waterfall. So that room is for the person who is ready to indulge in total self-love and just shower themselves with all the goodness, the luxury, the pampering. Like that room is still available. So if that's you out there, I do have someone in mind who I really think is deserving of that room.
Aw.
And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And that room is also available. Like if two people, it's a king bed, and like if you want to go with your bestie and share that room, like that would be an incredibly amazing experience as well. I don't know that anyone wants to share that room with me because I hear I snore, but I have. So funny thing is, I always like to tell it's my parents' fault that I don't know how to share a bed, because when I was little, they had a full bed, and like they were ready to transition to a queen bed. And so when they did that, I got the full bed. So me as a little, I don't know if I was 4, 5, whatever year old little kid, I got this full bed. I know how to sleep on an entire bed. And then, and when I was married, my husband traveled a lot. He would come back from traveling and he'd be like, "Do you mind giving me like a corner on the bed where I can sleep?" And I'm like, "Well, that's what you get for being gone so long. Like, I know how to take up space when I sleep."
That's
But the
hysterical.
hilarious thing is now I share the bed with a man, a dog, and sometimes a cat. And they all think that they have greater rights to the territory on the bed. Like sometimes I wake up and I find myself like curled up in a quarter of the bed. And I'm like,
That's
so I do know how to share space with people in a bed now. I wouldn't kick you out. But
look,
years
look at
ago,
the
I'd be
growth.
like,
Look at the growth. Look at you just evolving. Yeah, yeah. Well, the like I said, summer is going to be a beautiful time of year. I was already thinking about like the particular path that we're going to take when we do our guided forest therapy. There's so many magical things in that forest, and it's literally just a few steps from the door of the big home house. It's not. I hate saying house because it makes it sound like an Airbnb. It's not. It's like a little baby castle, little baby country castle. I don't know how else to say that. Really, really beautiful. It's going to be really cool. And I'm really excited about that.
it
So,
is a beautiful, special space. And, it's also like we get to be in nature, but like in luxury in nature. Like I was just having a conversation with someone. They were going to go to this thing until they found out that it was camping, like literally camping in tents on the ground. And sometimes that's what you have to do to be in nature. And sometimes you can still have a really comfy bed, like all the luxuries, and be right there next to nature. And, the activities that we have planned, anybody can participate in them. And then if we have these super fit, active people, there's tons of hiking
oh
trails
yeah,
that they can go on. And
oh yeah.
because we will have downtime for you to just be and do whatever you need.
Yeah, and it's a
And
totally secure area as well. So when I say forest, I do mean 200 private acres. So if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you're a runner and you want to go up and down, the hills and mountains and whatnot, you can do that safely. There are black bears, but you learn bear etiquette and you'll be fine. I mean, if listen to me. If I'm telling you, it's for real. Like I don't play with bears. I'm not like, here, coochie coochie bear. I'm like, ooh, love you, gotta go by. there was, I think, did I ever tell you this story? I'm sure I did. They have these plum trees along the walking path, and you can literally just like, they want you to eat off of the trees. So you're literally just walking, picking it right off the trees. You eat it. You can't get a fresher piece of fruit. I mean, it's literally right off the tree. And speaking of luxury, like, don't get me wrong, it's air conditioned and it's wood floors and it's a fire and it's catered food and it's really, really nice. So, you know me, I love a good challenge. I don't like suffering. So yeah. They even have a cool gift shop. They have this new beautiful yoga pavilion. They have fire pits everywhere. They have even a tea house that you could walk to if you wanted to. So lots of cool
And
stuff.
since you brought up yoga, I will say, like, that's one thing historically. You're looking for a retreat. I swear every retreat out there on the planet is a yoga retreat. I do yoga. I do my hot yoga. I do not want to go on a yoga retreat. Like, I do yoga every day. Why would I want to go retreat doing more yoga? So this is not a yoga retreat.
Yeah, there will be plenty of ways to physically move your body. But no, you don't have to,
And if you want to do your own yoga practice, yes, there is space for you to do that there. But
space and time. And you know what? I just want to reiterate, and I know we've been trying to say this is a Cuban conversation. We've been trying to say goodbye for 10 minutes, but listen to me. One of the things that's really important to me when I go on a retreat is that I don't want to be rushed from process to process to process. Like, light the candle, go to the thing, turn the thing, do the cacao, come back, go here. Like, I need time to rest and relax and process, whether I'm an attendee or whether I'm leading it. It takes time to process. So know that we have also built in just time to relax, just time where if you want to go hide out and, introvert's corner, and you can just go relax and have nobody talk to you for a hot minute because your life is all crazy, we have that built in as well. So yes, we have events and activities that help you transition and move forward, and everything from transform to celebrate, elevate, all of those good things. And there's also just good old-fashioned downtime where you get to just relax. We're far out enough in the woods that you can howl to the moon if you want to, and it's big enough that you can find a corner to relax in as well. So I think that's what I love most about this location, is that you're kind of like encased in this safe area, but it's so big that you could roam and find yourself and lose yourself all at the same time.
It is also during the summer solstice, which adds an extra, touch of energy to the thing. And the other thing I just want to bring up, and then I think we can wrap this up and go. But, so I forget how many retreats we're on now that we've had. And what I really love is seeing the community of women that we created and how they all support each other and come together. It's like, once you've come on a retreat with us, you are now part of a community of women that just empower each other. And, we've had 2 women now in the group that one just did, and one is on the verge. Like, the only way this won't happen for her is if she decides it's not the best thing for her. But 2 women that have just created massive, massive shift in their career life. And if you speak to both of them, they will say that without a doubt, part of the reason they were able to make this transition was because of the work that they've done on our retreats. But to see them, cheer each other on and pray for each other, support each other, like, this is just, it's an incredible community that we're creating, and I love it. And if you're listening out there, we want you to be part of our community too.
Yay. So exciting. All right, let's wrap it up. We've yammered enough.
We have.
Check out our webinar coming up. That'll give you lots and lots of details, actual takeaways, plus info more about the retreat. The retreat is selling out. It absolutely will sell out because it is a very intimate space. And I think we're about halfway there. So definitely check that out. Call us if you have questions. If you have special needs, ask us that too. We're happy to answer all the questions. And yeah, I'm super excited, guys. Have a wonderful and exciting week ahead.
Have a magical day, everyone.